Yo, Indy wrestling fans, welcome to Indy Handshake. I am your host, Jesus Cruz, and tonight I am joined by my brother in pro wrestling, Jon Jon the Phenomenon. How you doing, man?
What's up, bro?
It feels so good to say that name again, Jon Jon the Phenomenon.
I get goosebumps every time somebody would say it.
I know, man. Especially when Ron Head said, I always thought Ron Head was one of the best announcers out there, and the way he said
Man,
it.
I know, right?
Yeah, and this one specific one, we'll get to the story maybe later, but this one specific one, I was doing an interview with Kid Omega, someone that you know very well in the business. It was at a CWA show for Billy Blade, and Ron had introduced you as Kirk White's worst nightmare, Jon Jon the Phenomenon. So we'll get into that story later. But Jon Jon and I have known each other probably since the early 2000s. I believe we met at a big time wrestling show in Hollister. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it does sound familiar. And I think Scott came up to you and asking about what camera you got or something like that. I think that's how the whole thing started, right?
I believe so, yeah. And he's talking about Jin Hiryu, and we'll talk about Jin Hiryu later on. But yeah, you guys were doing the shows. Well, Big Time Wrestling had like a second school in Hollister. I would always call them the Ken Crow's kids.
Ken Crow. Big Ken Crow.
Big Ken Crow was a fan that used to come to the Newark to the Big Time Wrestling shows. And then I guess he struck a deal with Kirk Wyatt and Jason Styles to go and also train in Hollister. Were you a part of that group?
I guess at the tail end of it.
Yeah.
So it was Bubba Slim was the main guy that was there. B-Rock and a couple other guys that were there, but it was just mainly a couple. There was like mainly three dudes that were there, but every then now and then people would come there. Joe, I think Rosati, was it Joe Rosati?
Rosano?
Not Pogo.
Not Rosano?
Is it Rosano?
Yeah.
He was in ECW. That guy.
He was in XPW.
XPW. There you go.
Yeah, Steve Rosano. Yep.
Steve Rosano, there you go. Yeah. He would come out and show us what's up, and then every now and then Jason would come out. But that my first show was with BTW at that Hollister show. I think was that the outside one or the inside one?
That was the inside one, but it was like a small barn. It was like a weird shaped venue. It was if that's the one I'm thinking of.
No, so my first show was at. I don't know if it was a bowling alley or not, but we did a show outside for some sort of promotion.
Yeah.
And it was my first one. And like Omega said in his interview, if you're going to make mistakes, we can do them there, whatever.
Yeah.
Get it out, whatever it is. But that whole situation was weird because we came with Carlos Masavas. I don't know if you know that name at all. He
Was he Devin Danger?
No, Devin Danger was the other guy that was from BTW too, besides B-Rock and Bubba Slim. But Carlos Masavas was my actual first trainer in Lucha Libre in Salinas, California, at the Bread Box, and that's how we met Uli, Ulysses, Golden Lion.
Yep,
and LaFleur and a couple other guys, Jesse and Jesus. That's one of them's name. I started wrestling with them, and it was in a boxing ring, and like I want to say learning like actual Lucha Libre was from them, right? I did kind of learn some American through Matty Fernandez's handbook that was given to a guy named Chuck Holiday, who also owned WPWA or World Power Wrestling Alliance. No. Pacific Western Alliance.
Pacific Western Alliance. Okay.
Yeah. And he had a ring in his backyard. So I started learning with Carlos inside the boxing ring first. And then we found out that Chuck had a wrestling ring in his backyard. Right. So we were like, oh shit. It was like right around the block from my own house. And I was like, oh wow, this guy has a ring, and it was made out of wood. The first one was made out of wood, and it had bed springs and stuff like that, but it was a wrestling ring, rope, And the term backyard wrestler, you know, all that, there was so much hate for it, especially from Jason Styles.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't even know why Jason hated me for it. So for the longest time, but you know what? It was a place to wrestle. I wasn't even into freaking, you know, light bulbs and freaking getting hit with a chair, you know, whatever.
None of the hardcore stuff. Yeah.
I wasn't really into that, you know, but it was a place to train, you know. And one thing that happened while I was training back there, we did a show with Gangrel later on, and he actually stayed at Chuck's house. And we went to the backyard, and he was like, dude, this is awesome. Get to train under the stars. And I was like, dude, you're so awesome. You know, I was like, I love this guy, you know.
For putting it into that perspective, yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, this is where it all started for you, huh? And I was like, yeah, pretty much. You know, he's all good to hear. You know,
so
start somewhere.
So how did you even get interested in pro wrestling?
So I trained since I was 6 years old in martial arts. And you know, I was like, I want to be a stunt, you know, choreographer or whatever, make fight scenes for movies, whatever, like that. And hooked up with this guy, Armando Gonzalez, and he was making a movie, and he needed somebody to help him with like his fight scenes or whatever. And certain things led one to another. And I don't know, it just turned into where we saw this wrestling thing with Scott. And I don't know, man. I always loved wrestling, and I was always thinking, man, I could do that. I can do that move. You know, I can, as a martial artist, you know, you're like, oh yeah, I can probably do that better, or make that look even worse, or even like, you know, because when you're watching wrestling as a fan, you know if somebody's gonna hit you, or if it's a real hit or if it's not a real hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, why did he hit him like that? He should have hit him this way instead. You know, make it look more real.
Mm-hmm.
Or not more real, just more impactful, rather than an air ball or something, you know, because you see whiffs every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, just something to avoid that, you know. And I thought I can, you know, punctuate that a little bit more, take it to the next level, is what I was thinking, you know. But
yeah,
you know, from back then, you know, what I know now is way different, you know. And especially like in kayfabe, you know, you're gonna hear me say that, but you tell, you know, somebody that's old school, they hear you say that, they're gonna be like, what'd you just say? You know, yeah. It wasn't like that. That wasn't my thinking at all. I'm not thinking I can outdo the way the performer's doing it. I'm just saying the physics of the way it looks. It can be changed. Everything keeps changing, you know? Yeah. So that's basically what I was thinking when I wanted to get into wrestling. And having a martial arts background, you know, that kind of made me feel like I had a little bit better of an edge, you know. And then you get to see more stuff come out like that, New Japan Pro or Japan Pro, or my bigger influences, Great Muta, you know, Tajiri, Rob Van Dam, actually one of my biggest influences, you know. And just seeing the moves that he was doing, and just knowing that he was a martial artist, and just he brought it up that level that I was trying to bring it to, or thought I could bring it to, you know, and thinking that I could bring to everybody else to watch and see me perform, do that. So that's basically what got me into wanting to do wrestling.
What year was this when you were training?
When I started probably training 98, 99, and 2001 was my first match in Hollister. And then went
for big time
from there on till 2000 for big time. And then after big time, our next show was for Carlos Masavas in not Hollister, not Gilroy, one of the Gonzales. It was in Gonzales, California. And man, that was like the biggest crowd, like hugest crowd I've ever had at that time, like well over like 2,000 people. I was like, oh, this is awesome. You know, it was outside though, you know, but yeah, you know, in the boxing ring again, doing Lucha Libre from what I learned, and, you know, did it with Jin Hiryu. And yeah, man, just things started escalating from there. It was really awesome to finally break into performing in front of people. Coming from something little to nothing, and then after that, Uli came back, and he was actually training in Mexico and in Southern California for WPW Martin Marin. The genie, or I don't know how you say it.
El Genio, yeah.
Yeah, El Genio. So he was training with him and Gladiador, or I think that's who it was. He was training with them and came back for a minute. He's like, he looked yoked out a little bit more. I was like, bro, you look a little heavy. He was like, nah, man, you can still carry me. You can still base me. I was okay. Yeah, so he went down there and trained with Martin, did a bunch of shows everywhere down there. He's like, Jon Jon, we're going. You, me, and Scott will go. I was like, okay, let's go. Right? I was like so down for it. And then started doing shows down there. And my first one, wore my kung fu suit and a tank top. Don't move, but whatever. I didn't have no gimmick going on. Everybody was like, yeah, come out in a kung fu suit. Look cool. But I did my show out there, and after we were done, Martin Marin comes up to me. He's like, dude, you got some good moves. I was like, oh, thanks. Yeah, that's awesome. Like, Uli's like, dude, that's cool. Martin came up to you.
Yeah.
Like right after the match. And I was like, yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Made me feel really good about, trying to pursue it even farther.
Yeah.
And, Martin actually had a conversation with me later and said, hey, man, how far do you want to go with this? I said, all the way, if I could, I said, okay, we'll see what happens, I was like, cool. But then, it just kept going on from there, going up and down. And then, finally doing a match at APW with Billy Blade, and APW is a weird situation for me, and Jin here, because even though BTW gave us our start, we actually had a little something going on with APW from the beginning, because that's where Chuck started learning first, with Vinny Massaro, Jardy France. Chuck paid them money to go train. I mean, this is just a story, I mean, it's real life. But certain things happen to where, stories don't match up, so you got to go investigate what's going on.
Right.
And we went up there and we showed Roland who we were and told him where we came from. And he's like, oh, okay. So you guys think you guys got what it takes? We're like, yeah. So we showed him a little tape we did, right? And it was in the backyard. It was Chuck's daughter's birthday. We did a little show for him. And then like halfway into it, I did Kurt Angle's freaking finishing move, right? He's all, that's enough. I'm done. Right? And I was like, but wait, he gets out of it. He's all, I don't want to see it no more. It's fine. Right? He's all, so you guys want to come here and train? And I was like, it's far. Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, Hayward's far from Salinas, California.
Yeah.
And like, well, if you really want to do what it takes to become a pro wrestler, come up here. You're not going to get anywhere with that. And I was like, wow, okay. And he's all, you're never going to wrestle inside my ring. And I said, okay, cool. So that kind of put like, a downer into the situation. But at the same time, we confirmed some stuff. And, it's a learning situation. Anytime you're learning anything, you're going to learn. You're going to have fallbacks a lot. And, this was one of them. But in the end, I got to wrestle inside Roland Alexander's ring, at APW inside the Gym Wars. And that for me was like, yeah, Roland, I wrestled in your ring. God rest your soul though, Roland, but I wrestled in your ring, bro.
Yeah. Did you wrestle after he passed?
Before he passed.
He
even told me, good match, man. Way to go. Yeah. And that match was with Billy Blade. Also, that's another way of how things started with Martin, Martin would take his guys and take us, me and Jinhiri, Scott and Patty, Nico, to CWA at Billy Blade's spot in Santa Maria, California, and we start doing shows over there. And man, that was a fun experience. I swear, going, every weekend. I don't know how we did it. We'd go every weekend to Santa Maria, but we wouldn't go every weekend to APW.
Yeah.
Santa Maria is way farther. But you know what? The vibe there was a little bit different. It felt really good. We'd go to CWA on Friday and then do a show on Sunday in Anaheim. We did that for like a year straight. Mm-hmm. I was like, how many matches did we do each weekend? And I was like, this is so dope.
Yeah.
You're doing it with one of your best friends, and it was just amazing. It was the time of my life, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, the CWA would happen with Kid Omega. Got really good with him. Tsunami, Steve Tsunami, Mike Menace, to name a few. Devious, and I can't remember Anthony. Chris Caden, Billy Blade's tag partner. Yeah. Wrestling with them was so fun. Just we would have fun wrestling. It was fun. That was fun. It wasn't the serious side of wrestling at that point yet. We didn't, I don't think any of us at that time were exposed to it, except for me with what I got with Jason Styles and Kurt White. That's basically, where things I get you ain't this, you ain't that. Well, of course not. I'm learning, Yeah. You're always learning. Ears open, mouth shut, right?
Yeah.
You just gotta from the beginning, I knew that, but yeah, man, everything with wrestling from there on out just got even better.
Yeah.
I ended up going to the East Coast and wrestled for NWA Global Wrestling Alliance out there in Virginia. Wrestled in North Carolina. I can't remember where else. But just mainly those two places.
Well, how did you come up with the name Jon Jon the Phenomenon? Like, where did the gimmick come from?
Okay, so my boys from Hawaii that live in Arizona, Mark, his name is Mark, punk ass Mark, is what they call him online. So me and my grandmaster, we went over to go meet the Hawaii boys because they're one of my grandmaster students. Grandmaster Gilbert Corncello, who he teaches Tang Sudo and Filipino martial arts, Eskrima. So we went to go meet the guys out there because they only do really Eskrima. Half of them were doing Thai boxing at the time. But one time we went out there, this was after I went to Alaska, like in 99. Went to Alaska for a minute. We came back, went to go visit one of his students, one of my brothers, Meji Sampaga. And we were showing each other these moves and like these lock holds, whatever. And then my grandmaster said, "You can't get out of this hold. It's really hard." I go, "Sir, you can't say that. Like every, there's a counter for every counter, right?" And he said, okay, how do you get out of this move when you're already locked in? And I showed him, and I did it in front of everybody, and everybody's, it basically was like a weird, like, well, you're in front, if you have somebody in front of you and you do this chokehold, we call it the Shaolin headlock, right? But your hand's behind the head, right? Not in front, whatever, right? The person's head is in your arm, but you're on the ground. You're belly to belly on the ground. Their head's over here. What I did was I twisted the arm out and got out of the move while we were on the ground. And everybody was, "Oh, damn, Jon Jon the Phenomenon," right? Because I got out of my grandmaster's move. And that's how that started.
Okay. Yeah. Jon Jon the Phenomenon.
Yeah, that's how that. My grandmaster's a big too.
Yeah. How much of your martial arts training do you incorporate in your wrestling style?
Oh man, my grandmaster says this all the time, is that my wrestling skill was my martial arts skill was like this.
Mm-hmm.
My wrestling skill was like this. Then all of a sudden it went like this. Reason being is because when you do certain moves in wrestling and you're using your martial arts to do it, there's a certain amount of control that you have to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you go full bore, somebody's gonna get injured no matter what.
Right.
My boy Shane Acuff, who is also known as Shane Falco on the East Coast, we did Insaguri, and it's both my fault and his, but I'll take more of the blame. He leaned forward while I was jumping in the air, and I thought he was going back. He went forward and straight up in the eye. Like, it was the loudest boom. I was like, fuck. I was so mad at myself, man, because he went on camera too with the black eye, and I was like, it was, and we laugh about it now because so much shit, but yeah.
I remember seeing when I saw I think it was your match with the Kid Omega, where I first saw you guys, and I told myself, I want to book these guys when I start running a show. And sure enough, I did. I booked you guys for my debut show in San Francisco. It was you and American Wild Child and a guy named Vega versus Kid Omega, Scorpio Sky, and Quicksilver. Tell us a little bit about that match. And actually, I think the reason I wanted to book you is because you did that little spinneroonie thing into the elbow drop. I was like, I'm marked out for that one. I'm like, oh yeah, that dude's booked.
Really? So that's the Phenom elbow. That's what we
Phenom. There you go.
Yeah, and then
so tell us your experience about wrestling at that show.
Okay, but wait, I thought, what was the other guy's name? Vega?
I think they just called him Vega that day.
So he wasn't Angel from
no, it wasn't Angel.
Okay, because I was like, dude, is that Angel? Like, I didn't really talk to him because I was like, is that guy Angel? You know?
Yeah, no, Angel wrestled. Angel was in the first match, and then they had this kid, and I guess he was pretty new at the time. And then I heard Kid Omega said in his podcast that he is now wrestling at AAA. I don't know what gimmick he's using, but I guess he's a AAA wrestler now.
Oh wow. Awesome.
He also reffed the main event of that show that night.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And Jezebel, I think Jezebel was there too.
Jezebel. Oh yeah. Yeah, she's like, I was like, oh, I'm hurt. She's like, oh, come here, honey. And I was like, oh yeah. And she's like, I was like, I'm hurt. And she's like, I'll work it, boy. She's like, work it. And I was like, cool. You know, and everybody's like, oh. I was like, whatever, I worked it too. But the match, like, that was my first time working with American Wild Child. I've seen him before the back of WPW, doing some shows. That was the first time I met Vega. I've worked with Scorpio Sky and Quicksilver one time before that, but not as a tag team type of situation. It was just like a Royal Rumble, whatever, you know, and we messed around or whatever. And Omega, me and him worked a bunch of times already. So with that, I was comfortable. Quicksilver, you know, I got to work him a little bit. I didn't really get to work Scorpio. But man, that was a fun experience with that crowd. I mean, that show was like the best. Like, to just see O'Grady, what was his Crash? Oh my gosh, I was like, oh, and to see him and Vic Grimes get at it, like, I was like, is that kayfabe or is that real? Right?
Yeah.
That conversation, I was like, what's going on, right? But anyways, that match though, man, freaking, I couldn't be more happier with something that happened that way, you know, and just to hear the crowd's reaction.
Yeah, that was a really, really fun match. Yeah.
Yeah. The reaction from the crowd, you know, I think that, you know, I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, one of the reasons that I kind of stopped wrestling is because of my anxiety. Before I would go out to a match, I would go and throw up. No joke. Every time, almost every time.
That was you then. No, I was kidding. In the back, I'm like, who puked?
No, and you know what? It became a tradition. If I didn't throw up, I don't think I would have a good match. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh wow.
It was the anxiety of it all. But the
Yeah.
anxiety actually got worse and worse and worse and worse. On the East Coast, it wasn't that bad. I came back from the East Coast to the West Coast, and it grew even more. But your show, that didn't happen. I don't know why. I think it's because maybe I had a shot before.
Yeah.
But and plus, I think because I know who the other guys were, you know, the opposite opponents, and we kind of, you know, already said, oh, we're gonna do this and that, and that's it, you know.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't, you know, I think me and Omega could have just like did more, but at the time, you know, there's other guys too, right?
Yeah. You guys always had good chemistry too, you and Kid Omega.
Yeah.
And then you came back. Second show, I did a show in Rapid City. You wrestled Flacco Loco, and then you start. How'd you like that match? And also, because you also branched out to Supreme Pro Wrestling, right? You worked there for a little bit or a couple of shows.
Yeah, a couple of shows.
So tell us that experience.
So with Flacco, oh my gosh! So, already you can tell there was a lot of, you know, Latinos around the ring, right?
Yeah,
there was these two hot chicks right there in front of the crowd, right? And I think I asked you, I go, how do you say who's your daddy? And you said, ¿Quién es tu papi?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Dude. So I go and tell them that, and they're like, tú. And I was like, what?
You're like, what does that mean?
I was like, what? Yeah. But I didn't know, you know. And then, you know, the match with me and Flacco, man. Me and Flacco have good chemistry too. You know, I got to do a lot of moves on him that I haven't gotten to do in a while, or you know, just do in front of a crowd, just new things. I wish I could see it again so I can go, play by play. Oh, this is where this happened, you know. But
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I think I got to show the zip, what I called the zip tie at the time. I think I got the elbow in, and my finisher UFO, but I think Flacco went over on that. I'm not sure.
No, you did.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, you did. But how was it working up north, up to SPW?
SPW, so working for Gabe, Big Ugly, man, I love those guys. I will say this at the time, my asthma, I don't know what it was. It was just getting worse and worse. I think smoking cigarettes had something to do with it at the time, but you know, just in general, I was like losing my wind, you know. And actually, when I came back from the East Coast, same thing happened, but I got really, really sick and actually lost like some lung function. So that actually made me, that actually kind of put a kibosh on wrestling when I came back from the East Coast to the West Coast. But working for Gabe and Flacco at the time, man, in that area where we were, you know, it was so awesome just to be around a fresh new group of people, another locker room, you know, got to wrestle with Apollo Khan. I can't remember the other guys' names, but Reno Scum, I think that's what they are now. I don't know if they're still wrestling or not, but you know, just wrestling with all those guys and seeing, you know, how other people work. You know, Mike Rain, seeing him bump the way he did, I was like, oh, I'm not going to do that. You know, but just to see how other people work, you know, and how the locker room works behind the scenes in a different way, you know. You know, you get exposed to different things and it opens up a little bit more, you know. And I think that I thank Supreme for that type of experience. I gotta tell you something that was probably my most embarrassing thing in wrestling that I've ever done. So backstage, me and Flacco were like, I go, I smell something weird, right? He's like, I wonder if it's this. And it's gold. He's like, I wonder if it's this. It's Gold Bond's medic, you know, the powder.
Yeah.
I go, yeah, it is. He's all, dude, put it down there. When you sweat, you won't feel it, you know, and it'll keep you cool. You know, because he's wearing tights. I'm wearing a singlet, you know, underneath. I'm like, you know what? Maybe he's right. So I do it. right? I'm wrestling Billy Blade at the time. Billy body slams me, and powder comes out. You know, it looked like a fart. Oh, dude, the crowd goes, "Did you see that come out of his ass?" I was like, I'm just gonna lay here for a moment. I just heard that shit, and Billy's working around.
Yeah. I think Flacco brought that up in our podcast.
Oh, did he?
Or was it? Oh no, wait, no, hold on. Or was it Apollo Khan? I forgot who. Somebody talked about that.
Oh, really? About me doing that?
Maybe they did it to someone else as well. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it sounds like it's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that was pretty embarrassing. Yeah.
So for a while we kind of lost touch. You and I. Once in a while we'll bring you in for like FMLL. I brought you in for an FMLL show in San Jose. I think it was you and Tito Aquino versus Ulises and what was that kid's name? Yeah. There was a kid, young kid that would his dad would bring him to shows.
Young Silver Tiger or Little Silver Tiger.
Yeah. And then he wrestled as I forgot P something.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, is that him?
Yeah, that was his son.
Yeah.
But yeah, he would, man, that little boy, when he was even smaller than that, his dad would throw him around lucha style. I'd be like, bro, and one time he pulled up his leg to do the flip. He overdid it. He over rotated and hit his head. And I was like, bro, he's okay. Picks him up. You're okay, right, son? Hey, he's start him young. Yeah. But yeah. FMLL with
Rocky.
Rocky? Was it Rocky?
Yeah, Rocky was running FMLL then. At the San Jose Civic Center.
That was dope too. That was a big crowd too, man.
Yeah. And I think the last time I remember physically seeing you I think it was at the last Pro Wrestling Iron show in like 2005 in San Leandro. You didn't wrestle, but you came out with, I think, Roquero del Diablo. I think you came out with him as like a second. Did you ever work Pro Wrestling Iron? Top of my head, I can't remember.
I can't remember if I did either.
Yeah, but no,
I did. So I not really work for him. So Modest and Donovan Morgan, when they had their ring at the dojo out there, Chuck called them up and was like, hey, I got these two wrestlers, I guess Donovan and Modest were like, hey, we're looking to bring people to Japan for Noah. And Chuck's like, hey, I got two guys. They're ready to go. Right? So me and Uli perform in front of them. And freaking Uli was already heavy at the time. I'm freaking blown up, man. Like, blown up. Uli's like, give me more heat. And I'm like, bro, there's only so much I can do. Carry your ass. But anyways,
I remember this. It's starting to come to me again.
Yeah, we performed in front of them, and I'm like, gosh, damn. I let Uli go over, right, and then we exit the ring, and I'm just like, damn. But Opal Khan, they were like, I was like, look back, I was like, oh wow. So then Donovan and Modest, they go, come here, Chuck. They take them out back, and I'm like, what the fuck are they saying? Like, what are they saying? Like, I'm like, man, I fucked up. That's all. I just fucked up. That's what I'm thinking, right? And then he calls me, and he's like, come here, Jon Jon. And he's like, hey, I go, before, I should have just let them talk. I was all, before you guys say anything, I know I sucked, right? I should have just freaking let them say what they were going to say.
Yeah.
But they're like, dude, that was good.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Like, you guys really liked it? And I was like, they're like, yeah, but you need to train more. And I was like, well, who doesn't, like, I'm still, I'm still, who doesn't stop learning? You know what I mean?
Right.
And if I knew what I knew now what I knew back then, shoot, total different story, you know.
Yeah.
But still, um, I kicked myself too hard for that. But that was probably one of the only times I think I've wrestled for Iron.
Okay.
I'm not sure. There were so many shows, bro.
So now, tell us about when you moved out of the area, when you moved out of NorCal and moved to SoCal. What shows were you working with for down there?
Um, I didn't move to SoCal. I actually moved to. You're talking about after I moved from
I'm sorry,
Salinas?
doing shows like for Rikishi, like for Knox.
Oh, I didn't even do shows for Knox. I did one show because Billy Blade was there, and Black Pearl's like, "Hey man, you know," because I talked to Pearl already, and
Mm-hmm.
Gangrel was there helping as well, and Gangrel's like, "Yeah, come out, freaking check out the school, see what happens." And Black Pearl, you know, I was already doing shows, whatever, and Black Pearl's like, you know, "Yeah, man, you can train here," you know, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh, okay." Um, but I'm already doing shows, bro. And he was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, but you know, if you ever want to come here and do whatever, you know." And I was like, "Okay, yeah." So I get called by Gangrel one time, and
Mm-hmm.
Billy's like, "I'm on my way over there with Tsunami and Caden, come do a show." And I was like, "I'm not, I'm not trying to do shows right now. This is so." When I got back from the East Coast,
Mm-hmm.
I ended up going to SoCal, moving there because of a certain opportunity that I ended up having.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I got to tell you how this happened first. So,
Mm-hmm.
so from being on the East Coast, coming to the West Coast, uh, I got a job opportunity to become a tech installer, doing what is that, DSL, and this is when it's glass, and got an opportunity to do government job, and from that moved down south, right, to LA. And I was like, okay, you know what, I'll do it. It was supposed to be like good ass money, prevailing wages at the time. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go do that. um, and at the time I'm moving and coming back from the East Coast to the West Coast, something happened to my lungs. I don't know what happened to it. I wasn't smoking anymore at the time either, but like I lost some lung capacity. Something happened, and then I had to use my inhaler more every day. Something happened, so I kind of like wasn't even training, and I couldn't find myself to train. And I think that was a mistake. I think I should have fought through it and got better from it.
Mm-hmm.
But coming back to today, I'm fine now. But back then, it was really bad. I had some, I think what they called a neurotoxin that caused it, and it can stay with you for years.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just left me somehow, or I still have it, just haven't had any of the effects that it gave me from back then.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, from that job that I got, I went to move down south, and I was in Burbank area, and I ended up working at a nightclub Vanguard to um, be a bouncer. But also an opportunity came to where uh, the Black Eyed Peas were doing a music video and needed famous Filipino people.
Mm-hmm.
So me being a pro wrestler on the East Coast, I got invited to be on the music video. The music video was Bebot,
Mm-hmm.
the one
Bebo,
that Apple.
Bebo,
Yeah,
Bebo,
yeah.
Bebo.
So I got to be in the music video for the Black Eyed Peas,
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, later on that got to turn into something else where I was working for Jeepney Music, and that was Apple Diap's music label, and
Mm-hmm.
I got to drive him around. I was basically his chauffeur, his bodyguard, and did whatever else they needed at the time, and then come to find out later, oh, I'm just interning, and I'm like, I moved out here to intern.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, right? So, um, there was certain times I was supposed to get paid for stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
that didn't happen. So that relationship kind of fell through.
Mm.
Um, so at this time, I got to find job, get a job. I start working at Vanguard, and
Mm-hmm.
then I hook up with Black Pearl and start doing little things here and there, and it didn't really pan out because life goes on. Didn't
Mm-hmm.
really get into the ring. Um, I stayed there probably till 2010, and moved to Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And here this is where I meet up with Modest about the same time, 2010.
At Future Stars of Wrestling.
Future Stars of Wrestling. And, started doing some promotional work for them, did some video work for them, and, practiced with them a couple times. And then my work conflicted with what Modest wanted. So that relationship kind of blew out too. So, I stopped wrestling there for a minute and, just working out, whatever. Didn't really get into the ring at all for years. And then 2 years ago, I find BVW, where Wes and them were at, and got into the ring just to fill it out. Like, oh yeah. But, Lucha is different from American style. I mean, Lucha's like on the go, right? You'll always go. American style, you blown, rest, like you get that, you can work slower, less is more, right? You get that whole feeling. But you know what? If you're in Lucha and you try to do that less is more, it's not happening for you. The brain says no, go, right? You just want to go, but it's something you learn, as you go. But I got into the ring, just felt it out, and dropped out again. I joined a union, IATSE union, became an audio video technician. That's what I'm doing now. Well, during COVID, living in Las Vegas, because of COVID, everything is shut down. All the shows are shut down. There's no conventions, right? So, I'm just sitting here. I'm like, you know what? Let me try to get back into the ring again, just to train. And I meet up with Wes again, and he has Versus Pro Wrestling over there in the Boulevard Mall. And there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on with BVW or VPW. Versus Pro Wrestling. There's a lot of stuff going on with them right now. It's amazing. I love working with them. I'm doing the production for them, helping them with production, and training. I'm not looking to do shows right now. I'm fat, bro. I'm not. I'm 43. I'm nowhere. I mean, I probably got the lungs a little bit, but I don't got the look. And just going off of memory of what I know, I'm still going fast. I'm still trying to get that American style in there, the American psychology in there.
Yeah.
I mean, kinda, it's still there. But
dude, you can still come back, be Tito Jon Jon.
Right? Be the manager or something, Yeah, that'd be cool. But shoot. Yeah, I missed it, man. Every time I go over to Versus, I'm watching them wrestle and I want to jump in, dude. I just want to jump in and be like, yeah, let's do this, let's do that. But I actually got in the ring and hurt myself. And I'm trying to heal it up. I'll get back in there. Wrestling is gonna be with me forever, man. For sure. For sure.
Yeah. Now speaking of like memories and stuff like that, can you tell us some of your favorite road stories or favorite road stories that you've had?
Oh man. Okay, so me, Jin Hiryu, Neko, Patty, we're driving to Santa Maria, and I used to smoke weed, whatever, drink. We're doing that on the road, right? We're actually passing alcohol bottles from car to car. Bubba Slim, I don't know if you know who Hank Hooligan is, Billy. He would pass it over to me in the other car, whatever. So I don't know what happened. I drank a bunch, and then Patty gives me the pipe and smoked it up, freaking give it back to them, and then next thing I know, the car's hotbox, roll down the window, and while we're driving, I'm like, this is so stupid, just whatever.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I'm getting super dizzy. I put half my body outside the window. I start throwing up, right?
I've done that before.
The car right behind us, gets it all over his windshield.
Oh, dude.
All over the windshield, bro. He starts doing this with the windshield wipers, right? Scott's dying because he can see it in his rear view, and the guy's going like this.
Oh, dude, that is disgusting, man.
Yeah, but you gotta do, man.
Yeah. Oh,
it's one of my most memorable things. Yeah, I did it to Shane on the East Coast. We got super drunk. He introduces me to 151 and a dash of Sprite.
Oh, dude, Bacardi 151.
A dash of Sprite and a cherry, right? We do 3 of those. And then I'm drinking beer right after. And we're at this club called Saggy Curves or something like that. It's a strip club during the day, and then later on it turns into a nightclub where they have
the fuck?
Yeah,
that is not that name is not inviting at all, man.
Oh, bro, trust me, you need a bank account. It's a joke, but yeah, man, that's probably one of my favorite stories is that Shane is driving, and I open the door and I'm throwing up outside his door, but he's holding on to me because I have my body. As the car is going, I'm throwing up and he's holding on to me. I don't know what it is, man. That's how I got the name Pukey Stiff on the East Coast.
Pukey Stiff?
Pukey Stiff. So on the East Coast, there was a couple of us. There was Damian Wayne, Shane Falco, Chris Escobar, Larry, who was also the Gangster of Destruction, who's the main dude, and Adrian Whisper was his name, and we were called the Seven Stiffs. Red, there's a couple more guys that are in there. Mike Booth. We were all called the Seven Stiffs, and man, tearing it up on TV, just having a good time with Timber, the lumberjack. He was part of WWE, like, the backside of them. He trained with the Hardy Boys and Caprice Coleman, all those guys back there on the East Coast of North Carolina. Mm-hmm. But man, that's how I got the name Pukey Stiff, is because I was always puking right before a match. Some of them would see it, unless I was drinking. If I drink before a match, I wouldn't do that, which was weird.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Usually you think if you're gonna drink, you're gonna puke before the match.
Yeah.
But I think what it did, it made me relax before my match. And they would always say, they would think he's gonna puke during his match. They would make bets. Yeah. I was like, that's messed up, man.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He's gonna puke. So now let's talk about, one of your good friends in wrestling, Jin Hiryu, unfortunately passed away. What are some of your favorite memories with him in wrestling, or even outside of wrestling, other than puking out of his car?
Oh man, so Scott DeMars, Jin Hiryu. I grew up with Scott. He went to Galvin View Middle School with me. It wasn't until 8th grade that we started talking to each other, because there was a video game called Street Fighter 2. I don't know if you know the game.
Never heard of it.
So the one-on-one fighter Street Fighter 2 came out, and all like Street Fighter, the first one came out, was just Ken and Ryu. Then all the other characters came out, and Blanka was his favorite. He was mine, and he actually printed out these guides on how to do the moves of each character, right?
Like how to physically do the moves,
and no. How to do it in the game. On the game.
Got it.
Yeah, like I do the motions on the joypad, how to do the moves, and he was selling them for $10, right? To everybody in school. I was all, dude, you're making money selling this? He's all, yeah, here, you can have one. He gave it to me for free. I was like, wow, cool, thanks, man. He's all, yeah, you want to go play? You can play at my house. I was like, got it already? He's all, yeah, I got it already. He's all, but it's in Japanese, because he would get the Famicom stuff first, because it was released over there first. So we played at his house, and then we became good friends. Man, that guy had every video game system known to man. at that point, up until his passing, except for the last Xbox and the last PlayStation, because he just went straight to PC. But that guy had everything, man, when it came to video games or whatever, Transformers, whatever. He had one of the biggest Transformer collections I've ever seen. There was stuff that people didn't even know about at the time, like the Beast Wars, Beast Machines, the Japanese cartoons, not the CGI stuff. There's Japanese cartoon Beast Wars, where he's a lion. Nobody's seen those before, or the ape one either. Well, the ape one was CGI, but he was also a woolly mammoth, Optimus Prime. I'm talking about, where Lyle Convoy, they called him, and I don't remember what they called him when he was a mammoth, a woolly mammoth. But we were watching all these cool things, and I think that's how me and Scott always connected. We always had a love for Transformers, video games, just childhood stuff, and we grew up together. There was a bunch of group of us, but all the things that Scott was into, I was into, and he was basically like my brother, man. It's crazy.
I mean, I always saw you guys travel together, but I didn't realize until now how close you guys were. Like, I just thought they're just traveling together because they're on the same card, but I didn't know that you guys had a tighter bond than that.
Yeah. I was there when him and Patty got married. I was there when actually they kind of hooked up. But yeah, the Miss Nako is like my little sister to say, even though everybody wanted to touch her butt.
Yes, we did. Oh yeah, I remember when I have a tape. It just says BTW Nako's debut. That's all it says. It's on here somewhere. I'm like, I don't care what else is on this fucking tape. It just said Nako's debut.
Yeah. Unfortunately, certain things happen in life, and you just get caught up in whatever you're doing. And Scott was having what he was calling cluster headaches, and his mom was always telling him, go to the hospital, go to the doctor, go find out what it is. And he was they're just cluster headaches, Mom. They're just cluster headaches. The crazy thing is, the day that he was going to the hospital, I called him to see how he was doing. The day before all that, like, I think it was the same day, because the next morning or next couple hours, I can't even remember the difference, but his mom's like, say some prayers for Scott, he's in the hospital right now. I was like, wait a minute, I just talked to him. And I go, hey bro, how you doing? He's all, oh, nothing, just trying to get some sleep, and I was like, oh, okay, man. It was just real short. I was like, dude, I'll let you go, man. I just wanted to see how you're doing. He's all, oh, I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm just trying to get some sleep. I go, well, we'll talk later then. He's all, yeah, bro, for sure. And I was, all right, talk to you later. He's all, I love you. Hung up the phone. And then boom. Yeah, dude. And his mom didn't know that he had it was a blood clot. His mom didn't know that he had a blood clot the size of a tomato, is what the doctor said. But the doctor didn't tell her. He told his dad. And Scott didn't really have a connection with his dad. It was his mom. But the dad didn't even tell his mom. And that was kind of messed up. Yeah, and he was already brain dead at the point. And from there, yeah, he just passed away. So I don't know if you say what I'm saying is kayfabe or not, but if he had any fans out there, that's what they should know about what happened with him.
Tell us a story about your one of your favorite shady promoter story. You don't have to say names if you don't want to, or a funny excuse is why you didn't get paid for the show, which probably happened a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And then there was times where you got paid good, and then there was times where you just got a hot dog, right? Supposedly. Sometimes I got no hot dog. Right? Bro, you took care of me every time. And I was like, dude, anytime, right?
Yeah.
Kurt never paid me. You know what? I will say this: when it came to a certain point, I took all those experiences as experiences till I got to a certain point, and I was like, you know what? I'm sacrificing my body a little too hard for you, and you ain't giving me no reciprocation at all, you know. So when it came to that point, I was like, you know, I'm gonna do a little less. You know, I'm not gonna pour my heart out for you. But then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be cheating the fans if I don't give them my all. But you know, I will take it as that, like a learning experience. And then there were the times where you did get paid, where you got to another level, where you're on TV, right? And you're doing shows on TV on the East Coast, right? That's it's weirder on the East Coast, I will say, because there's channels where there's wrestling of different stuff. It's kind of happening now because what do we got? We got Ring of Honor, we got the AWE, right? WWE and
AEW, yeah.
And Impact. So there's a bunch more wrestling now that's exposed on regular TV now than there was back then.
Yeah.
Right. So over there, if you're in a city and it's being seen by all the little local cities around there, somebody might recognize you and be like, hey, you know, that's so and so. Can I buy you a drink? Yeah. Sure. Right. I will say this: one of the coolest things to ever hear from a fan was that I was on their screensaver. I was, I was like, really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
I wish I would have took a picture with them or whatever, but they're like, yeah, you're on my screensaver. I was like, that, like, I don't know, like, oh, cool.
Yeah. No, I mean that is cool because you know you made an impact, you know, to them. To the point they want to, you know, like a poster, you know, oh shit, I got a poster of somebody or you know, something signed. That's cool. That means you're doing a good job. That means you're doing your thing, you know. Speaking of fans, how about a crazy fan interaction that you've had? Like someone as a heel, someone you pissed off that maybe is waiting for you after a show, or someone doing a run-in, a fan doing a run-in, which we've had a couple.
I have I was playing heel for CWA. I can't remember who. I think it was Wrestling Cholo, actually, Little Cholo at the time. Mm-hmm. And this little kid, this little kid comes out, and he's like, and he freaking spits on me, like right here, and the whole crowd's all, oh, right, and I'm like, I got out of the ring, tried to chase the kid, I couldn't find him. He ran. I was like, oh. It was like a loogie. I was like, oh. Dude. Right. I think that was probably, you know, outside of wrestling, while wrestling is going on.
What are some of the things you found disappointing in pro wrestling, or maybe you just realized like, oh shit, you know, I'm just hurting my body. Like maybe I'm not where I wanted to be when I first started. Anything that you found disappointing?
The only thing that I can find disappointing about pro wrestling is the mentality of egos of wrestling, you know. I mean, granted, somebody is wrestling before you, so you got to give them that respect. They have some sort of kayfabe knowledge that you don't, right? So there's that, but there's no need to, you know, this. It's also a way to shut the door on the new guy. The new guy don't know shit. Fuck him, right? It's one of those type of things, right? There's that. That's the biggest thing of disappointment. Don't get me wrong, like when I went to the East Coast and these guys were saying they were lucha, right? I was like, show me what you got, you know, let me see your lucha. And they weren't lucha. So I was like, don't call your guys self lucha. You guys don't do lucha. You know, I felt like that. I was like, but then I was like, you know what? I can't say I'm full on the know-it-all lucha guy, you know, but I think at the time I was the authority lucha guy there. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I was like, because here's what happens. There'll be people that are doing American style wrestling, but they'll wear a lucha mask. And here's one of the things that I find also part of disappointing is that they're disrespecting that person by wearing that mask.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, why are you gonna go portray somebody that you're not, but you're gonna call yourself something else? And one of the things is in American style wrestling, they're gonna be like, nobody knows who that really is. It's just a mask. You're actually disrespecting that person by wrestling and not doing what they do. You're that whole persona that they put on. You're gonna do something, call yourself something else, and you're disrespecting that persona. It's like saying I'm Captain America when you're not. Kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like one of those type of things. That's the way. That's another thing that kind of I find disappointing when it comes to respect or whatever. But that I think that's probably it. On the other scale of things, you see all these things about in WWE. You either make it or you don't. They put you through this Navy SEAL type of training, right? See how far you can take it, right? See if you're going to keep going. But if you don't get put through the ringer, how are you going to know you're going to survive the rest of it? Which is something that I see. I'm also something called a clamper. I'm part of Eclampus Vitus. We're a brotherhood that is a historic drinking society. In order to, you've heard of it? Have you heard of
ECV, right?
Yeah, you've heard of it.
Yeah.
So
I actually read up on it not too long ago because I've always seen it at bars.
Yeah.
But then I read what it was about. Yeah.
Yeah. So in order to join, because there's different chapters, you have to go through what people back in the 1800s or whatever did to survive out here on the West, during the mining years, during the 49er years, whatever, but with that comes a way of life, also, like if you're a Marine and you're training, what is the drill sergeant doing to you? It's like a hazing, but it's all in fun. But when you're in the military, it's not all in fun. He wants to make sure that you're going to follow in line, so that way your life doesn't get lost. Pro wrestling is almost the same way, but the message gets lost. First of all, protect yourself, and then protect your dude, right? Protect the person that you're wrestling with, right? But it doesn't. It can get, the message gets messed up, I think, somewhere in there where I'm this person, respect me, do what I do, and then all will be good. But then there's like those people can be shitty too, you know what I mean? I'm going to speak on this a little bit. Hawkeye Shane Cody, right? I love that dude. I love Hawkeye Shane Cody, but everybody else didn't like him, and I didn't know why. I would hear stories about him and the cowbell, whatever. Like, I was like, you guys trying to scare me? Because I didn't he do this CMLL show or the FML show? No, I can't remember. But me, Apollo Khan, him, we were doing a Royal Rumble. He was in it, and then he comes up behind me, starts rubbing up on my shoulders, and he's like, "You gonna take care of me, bro?" I was like, "Huh?" Right? And this, when I first did my first show with Kurt White, Hawkeye Shane Cody is wearing that belt, and I'm like, dude, like, at that point, I was like, I idolize that guy, I was like, how did he get that?
Yeah.
And then as you get into the industry more, you're like, oh, that guy has a belt. That guy has a belt. Everybody has a belt. And you're just like, but they earned it somehow. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
So when it comes to, the respecting and everything else like that, everybody, I think everybody should be taken equally until, they prove otherwise. You know what I mean? Like if it's all in work ethic too, if you're willing to learn too, because you're never going to stop learning, no matter what it is in life, even wrestling. There's wrestlers I know, Damian Wayne, he talks about, always learning, always less is more, and he's right. Less is more to a point on the way that you're wrestling, but he has a point, cutoffs, whatever. You can keep learning. There's little things that you keep seeing that the crowd doesn't see, but another wrestler will see and be like, that was dope. It was something little. It's just something little, and other people catch on and be like, wow, solid wrestler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's, I think that's where I am with wrestling in total. You
Okay.
know, right now. Yeah.
And just to, for final question, like, well, what's in the future? I mean, I guess no one knows, but what would you like to do? I know you're involved with Versus right now.
Yeah.
What capacity do you want to keep being in the business?
Um, I love doing production, right? So on that end, if I can be on that end with verses and keep going with verses and make verses become one of the top things up there, I'm all for it. I mean, shoot, I myself, I'd like to have one more match, probably a retirement match, with the right guys. And maybe it's not just one person. Maybe it's like a round robin or a bunch of
Gotta
guys.
throw Kid Omega in there.
Oh, for sure. Sure. Um, yeah, man, that Shane's one of my boys, man. So, I mean, I'd like to get some of my guys on the East Coast and come down and do like a full on crazy show, but that takes capital, so it's all in how and if it can ever happen. But, first things first, I got to take care of my health. And then, that's the whole reason why I jumped back into the ring. I'm getting fat, bro. Need to turn that back into the phenomenon needs to come back,
Yes,
that's
sir.
yeah. I
You
felt
need
that
it.
needed to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not getting any younger, but you know what? At least I can. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm older now, so my way of thinking is different. But
Mhm.
I got too excited when I jumped in that ring. I was like, I'm in the ring again. Yes, and you got to hold back sometimes. Just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
in a candy store,
yeah.
Toys R Us is back. Just oh my god, yeah, man.
Well, bro, thanks a lot for doing this podcast. Go ahead and put yourself over. Where can people find more information? I see you have a lot of collectibles there. I mean, do you have like a YouTube channel or anything like that? Or
So I do. I have a website called Go Freak Media. Justin Velasquez is doing most of the writing for movies, but we're in COVID, so nothing really comes out as much as possible. I
Mhm.
do toy review um, uh, here and there. I do technology review as well, but with my ex roommate John Draper, Captain Crunch, who right now is has back problems. I don't know if you ever heard of John Draper, Captain Crunch, but
No.
he was like the third guy of Apple, but number 12 on paper or whatever. But he helped make them make something called the Blue Box, where you would go to a telephone and you would punch a bunch of numbers, and it would think that it was a phone call was really going through. And the reason why he's called Captain Crunch is because of the whistle, right? You hold down one of the holes on the whistle, the Captain Crunch whistle, and you blew into it on the phone, a payphone, back when the payphones were there. It would think that you were giving free credits. So that's how he
Mm.
got the name Captain Crunch. And he learned that with a bunch of blind kids. So yeah, there's I do technology with him. But unfortunately right now he's losing the loss of use of his legs.
Mhm.
So there's that. Um, Also versus pro wrestling, pushing that out as much as possible. You and everything you got going on. Also, something in the works that everybody might be interested in looking at is Stream City. It's a new way of streaming things. It's um, it's where you also can have an archive of things, like YouTube, where you can have an archive of video, but also you can live stream as well if you wanted to.
Okay.
So there's that, and look out for that if you can. Um, and yeah, shoot, I'm still working on film. I do teach martial arts whenever anybody wants to learn here in Las Vegas. I teach Tang Soo Do and Filipino martial arts, Kata Anen martial arts. It means the old ways in Ilocano. But I teach how to defend and protect yourself. Uh, or actually, my art is really more of a killing art more than a self-defense art when it comes to eskrima. but we teach 3 styles of it. Largo Mano, Serrata, and the Cuerdas. Our main style is the Cuerdas. But we also have a school in Salinas, California, with Grandmaster Gilbert Cornicillo. A school in Redding, California, with Tommy Cervena. A school in Phoenix, Arizona, with Master Michael Butts. A school in Florida with Master Valdez.
Oh, so everywhere, man.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's good. That's good to hear, though.
Yeah, but that's me putting myself over and some of the
Please.
stuff that I got going on. Yeah, man.
Please,
And if you ever need any help with video, whatever, I'm all there to help you out, bro.
No, for sure. Appreciate it, man. So thank you again, Jon Jon the Phenomenon. One of the good ones. You know, I had you in my mind to do one of these interviews for a while. I was only doing Lucha interviews, but now I'm starting to, you know, get everybody in there. But you are Lucha. That's where you started. You started with Golden Lion. So yeah.
Lucha first. No, nobody. I don't think people realize that though.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, thank you, brother. Again, thank you, Jon Jon the Phenomenon, and thank you everybody for watching Indy Handshake. We'll see you next time.